Hello, I'm John Shepherd, and in this short video we're going to take a look at the hang style of long jump technique and how you can perform it better. We're going to take a look at some of the variations of hang technique and also identify some of the drills which you can do to improve this technique. Okay, let's take a look at some of the hang variations, starting with what can be known as the classic hang technique. Basically, the free leg is driven up into the jump and then pulled back beneath the body whilst the hips are pushed forwards and the arms lifted to create that banana shape, C-shaped hang position. Now the arms need to move through the takeoff before they are reversed into the hang. And here's a version of the technique performed by Sweden's Tobias Nilsson Montla, who's been over 8 meters this season. So, to re-describe what happens with the classic hang technique, the free leg is driven in and then it's pulled back and the hang shape achieved. Now there's a slight difference here in that the free leg is dropped longer than in the previous example. The arms then cycle from overhead round and down past the hips in preparation for the leg shoot and landing. Okay, let's take a look at another hang variation, what can be called the hitch-hang method. So, what's different about this method compared to the classic hang? Well, the foreleg is pushed out after takeoff, that's of the free leg, and then pulled back into the hang shape. The arm action is broadly similar to the classic hang in that the arms go through the takeoff and then they're rotated backwards and overhead, and then come past the hips in preparation for the landing. Again, let's take a closer look, particularly at the difference after takeoff. Now you're going to see the free leg is pushed away from the body in a position not too dissimilar from a hitch kick. Taking a look at these two still images will show the difference between firstly the classic hang position after takeoff and then the hitch hang position after takeoff. Here's a slightly better example of the hitch hang performed by Paul, also from my group, and you can see the hips being pressed into the hang shape. Before we continue, it's a good idea to understand the reasons why a long jumper performs a mid-air action. Well, basically it's all about combating forward rotation in particular and enabling the athlete to get their heels out as far in front of their body as they can on landing. And the movements in the air are designed to combat this rotation by creating long, thin shapes. It's important to realize that what you do in the air cannot actually make you jump any further physically. The movements, as noted, are just designed to combat rotation and permit an optimum landing position. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the problems with the hang technique. Now, I have to admit that a lot of these are also common with the other techniques, for example the hitch kick. However, there are a few issues with the hang which, if not performed correctly, can lead to over-rotation, for example. As regular viewers of this channel will know, I always stress the importance of moving the free leg away at the point of takeoff and holding it for a split second before going into your mid-air action, whatever that may be. So we do a lot of work on hitting that takeoff position. However, with the classic hang technique in particular, the athlete can go too soon into their hang without the free leg being driven away from the body at takeoff sufficiently, thus compromising drive off of the board. Another issue can be almost immediate backward rotation. So you can see here the athlete's torso and head position is backward, and this will slow the takeoff. Slower takeoff will result in loss of distance, but the landing may look really good. That's because the backward rotation of the torso will lift the legs. A problem with the hitch hang can be going straight into the foreleg push away after the takeoff swing too soon. And here you'll see Jonathan from my group perform what's required. So the free leg goes in, it holds parallel to the track surface. He goes forwards, then pulls the leg back, and then sweeps down below and into the hang shape. At this point, I think it's important to also denote the difference between the hitch hang and the hitch kick, as the two techniques are very similar over the first couple of movements after the takeoff. Indeed, Paul from my group, who used to do a hang, and you've seen some of his hang techniques previously in this video, is now switching to a hitch kick. So the free leg is pulled away, it's then pulled back and behind the body to create a cycle, and then he goes into the landing for another half rotation of the legs to create a 1.5 hitch kick. And for further clarity or confusion, he's using more of a hang arm action, in that he's drawing his arms backwards as he moves into the first stage of the hitch kick, when normally they would work counter-rotationally. Here's Ivana Spanovic showing what I mean. You'll notice the arms work in opposite directions to the legs to create the cycling effect. Okay, so how can you make your hang technique more efficient? Well, as I've indicated, setting up and getting a great takeoff is key. So work on holding and driving the free leg into the takeoff position. And here you can see Jahisha working on that. And here attempting to do so from a full run-up, which of course is very relevant. I believe that you really need to work on that takeoff position and delaying your hang action, regardless of whether you do a classic or a hitch hang. Failure to do so will compromise your distance. And here you can see, by working on that takeoff, the movement into the hang is then delayed. If you don't do that, you run the risk of going up and down rather than up and out. And this is where potentially the hitch hang has some benefits over the classic hang, in that it can delay the movement into the hang shape, enabling the jumper to go longer off of the board and out and then hang, rather than hanging straight or quickly off of the takeoff. And hopefully you can see here what I'm talking about more clearly. Lucy takes off, holds position, then pushes the free leg away and pulls into the hang shape, thus delaying the movement. Another factor that's worth considering is the movement of the hips in the hang technique. Again, that relates to the takeoff. Try to be stiff with the hips in position at takeoff before they are pressed forward into the hang. Otherwise, you create that backward rotation that I was talking about earlier, and the lean back off of the board. I'm going to conclude with some views of mine on the hitch kick, in that, as I've indicated, we've been trying to get Paul to convert from a hang technique, or a hitch hang in reality, to a full hitch kick. I feel that it's easier to get a quicker takeoff with the hitch kick, in that you can really drive the thigh in and then rotate it, pull the free leg back harder and faster to create the first hitch kick, whereas with the hang you're almost thinking about stopping after you've got off of the board, particularly with the classic hang where you just drop the leg down, whereas with a hitch kick you can drive in very powerfully and then rotate the leg relatively quickly underneath, thus adding to that feeling of speed through and off of the takeoff. We began this switch at the beginning of the training year, and during the indoor season he was beginning to get the movement, although this effort was more of a hitch hang than a hitch kick. More recently, as we get close to the outdoor season, he's beginning to get that full revolution turn of the leg below the body to create the hitch kick. So here's a more recent example, and you'll see that the free leg after takeoff is then pulled back long and below the body, and then it travels behind the hips to then be pulled through into the front of the jump. So watch, the left leg is pulled back and around before being pulled through into the landing, thus creating the 1.5 cycles. Paul also had problems with creating a long landing position and would often forward rotate, but with the hitch kick and the cycle, the legs are almost automatically projected to the front of the body, as you can see there, and he gets a good landing. As usual, thanks for watching, and do subscribe to the channel and leave any comments you may have in the section below or through my social media. Do check out some of the other videos on the channel, for example the ones that are on the screen now, as I've been getting a lot of comments particularly on the conditioning for the jumps, and there are many simple or relatively simple exercises that you can do to improve your jump performance. And of course, good luck with your own training and your competitions.